driving on the correct side of the road? Does Britain drive on the right side? Or the right side is in the correct side? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to another English podcast with Paul. For those of you that already know me, I do English podcasts for students that are listening for and practicing for advanced listening. Those that are new, welcome. Please click like and subscribe. It does help me. Many of you aren't subscribed. And also there's a podcast with an app called Podbean. There'll be a link in the description. And so you can have me in your pocket and then search through some of the topics and think, wow, that might be interesting. I can put up with his voice for 20 minutes. And there you go. All right, that's all free. Links are in description. Right, getting back on with it. There's always a lot of controversial and fun teasing about the side of the road that Britain drives on. Now, it depends on your feelings, I guess, about Britain and about, I don't know, the way imperialism, English imperialism is far-reaching throughout the world. Now, if it's something you don't mind and you can embrace it, then this positive view on the joke that Britain drives on the right side from Britons, then you might think it's funny and follow along. Right, okay. So it's said that it goes back to medieval Britain when, there were conquests and fighting and basically people that would be sword fighting, warriors and soldiers, sword fighting and the knights, especially in castles and it's said to be around like on the stairs and things like that and on horses. That the whole reason for we drive on the right, side of the road, which is the left, is because most men are right-handed. Now, if you're on a horse and you've got somebody coming towards you and you want to protect yourself, you would reach your right hand in to grab your sword and hold it and swing it around. All right? And so you'd want the person you're battling and you're fighting over that side. All right? So you can hit them with your right hand. That's much more easier and convenient for a soldier or for a knight, for somebody swinging a sword, to do it with their right hand, because they're probably right-handed. I think something like 80% of men are right-handed. And for battle and for fighting, you'd want to steer to the left to make that person that's coming towards you to be on your right. All right, so there's a really good reason for us being on the left-hand side of the road. And that is that our dominant side, our dominant eye and our dominant part of the brain for motor skills and awareness, spatial awareness, puts that person on our right for our best possible outcome. Same whether you're on the stairs, going up or down the stairs, in a castle or any fighting situation. Hence why from the horses rode on the left side of the road so they were able to fight with our right hand. That is the accepted understanding of why people in Britain drive on the left. Not just because, basically because our stronger motor skills fit for us to drive on the left and to have somebody coming towards us on the right. That's really it in a nutshell. It's down to evolution of hand-eye coordination and the fact that most men are right-handed. So that's where it comes from. That's kind of a bit of the history of it. Also going on some of the history, as the Britain pulled out and retracted from the imperialism around the world, many countries would rebel and switch to the other side just out of pure, whatever word you want to insert there. Out of whatever reasons, they just were like, no, we don't like the British anymore. We're going to go on the other side of the road. That's fine. Everybody can make their own choice. It's your country. You do what you want. Right. So that's kind of a bit of the background of why we drive on that side. But driving overall is a much bigger subject. So Britain is really focused on people being independent and driven. So for example, if you live in rural countryside, it's really imperative that you learn how to drive as soon as possible. Because otherwise you're dependent on your parents, and in the rural countryside there's very little in the way of public transportation. Our buses are very infrequent because it's not a good business model to send buses out into rural districts just to pick up a few people here and there. It doesn't make business financial sense unless you get massive subsidies from the government, which nobody really wants to pay the government money to go pick up grandma to take her into town 3 times a week. Again, it's not what taxpayers want to spend their money on. But as I was saying, it goes back to independence, not just rural places, but the idea of adventure. You might see or hear of people driving across the other side of the world, or driving, as far as they can from their given country, because it's a sense of adventure. It's kind of the first bit of freedom that you can have from your family or from your tribe, to just get out and explore on your own. So traveling in a car has really pushed the idea of being independent and a bit rebellious and a bit curious about the world. And so that's kind of like the first place that Britons really sort of grow independently to explore is through driving. And we've got loads of motorways. You can get a car or a lorry to just about any point in the UK. So even if you talk about maybe a van or a little 7.5 ton lorry, you can get that to 99% of the UK landmass. One way or the other, there are lots and lots and lots of roads. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not the best roads in the world. They're not the worst roads in the world, or that I've experienced. But there are lots and lots of roads. And I can only take that, I think that we took that from the Romans and the Roman Empire, the importance of being able to move your armies all across the lands that they're involved with. So that's something we took from the Roman Empire, is as much as all the other great things that they offered. So that also you'll see in other military countries, that have huge, great big roads that they're able to use as runways. And the fact that lots and lots of big roads and motorways are strong enough to be able to take large aircrafts and things like that. Interesting thought. Right. So motorways, adventure, ruralism, that's kind of driving the curiosity and the spirit of an English person, as a Briton, to be able to get out and explore and go places because of those freedoms, which we are very grateful for. All right. So also what perpetuates that and what elevates that is kind of like the demise of the transport. Of the train. The demise of the train, again, more perpetuates the love of cars. Well, we did have a subsidised train network for many, many years in the UK. But with the changing governments, many governments like to sell off infrastructure or sell off parts of what is owned by the people. And so they can make a profit out of it, and the politicians make some back pocket money and things like this. That happens quite a lot. There are a few industries that we're really trying to hold on to, but I think that's the case in a lot of countries around the world. So the trains have gone into a state of disrepair, and then they've been brought back up again. But trains are extremely expensive. Unless they are subsidized, they are very expensive, especially, again, for the rural areas. So trains have a love-hate relationship with Britons. People in the UK have this relationship where it's lovely to get a train. It's beautiful. You can just relax and enjoy and look at the beautiful view out of the great big windows. So we love a train. But in lots of places, the trains are very, very expensive for an average middle class person. You know, it's just one of those things that you kind of avoid. And when it comes to the parts of the country you can get to with a train, it's often a big town or a city. So, for example, if you wanted to go into the tiny rural parts, let's just say that's where your friend lives, or that's where your holiday cottage is, or that's somewhere you wanted to visit, a little tiny rural place. When you get the train to the nearest city, you've then got to take either a taxi or a bus further, or let's just say a bus, closer to the next small village. So then if it's outside of a small village, you've then got to take after the bus, you've then got to either take a taxi or some way of finding another bus or I don't know, maybe even renting a car. So the hassle and steps in the way of you getting from your house to the rural place of your friend or your holiday cottage or your business retreat or whatever it is you're going to get to can be very, very difficult. Lots of things are in the way. But if you drive yourself and you can follow Google Maps, then it's so easy. The fuel is not massively expensive at the moment. All right, it's been up and down because of the war in Ukraine and Russia. But generally the fuel's not astronomical. And plus the fact that you've probably got some fuel, you've got a car anyway, because if you're in the rural areas, then you have to have a car to get to and from work, to pick up your groceries or whatever. It's really hard not to live without a car. So when you want to go on a holiday, you're more likely to take your car. You can put all your stuff in it. It's something you're familiar with. It's something you've got control over, and it's it feels like it's just, you know, you've got much more control over it. You know, there's not likely to be any changes in the trains or changes in the buses that's going to affect you if you go in your car. All right, there's so much more control. So going back to the trains, the expense, the lateness of them, the lack of how much they go out into the villages, which they used to many years ago. They used to. So for those reasons, it's really less of a desired mode of transport to get to your location. So that's one part. Now moving on to the bicycle. Now the bicycle has also had a demise, mostly because of the speed of traffic we have in the UK here in Britain. You know, the national speed limit for rural roads or small roads is 60 miles per hour. And if you're on a bike, that can be extremely dangerous for a car to be coming towards you at that speed in the smaller roads and in the lanes and things like that. And although you may see in London and in lots of other cities bicycle paths and bike-friendly cities and things like that, in the UK, that's miles away from being ideal and safe. So unless you're the strong will and minded of a semi-pro rider, you're not going to chance your life or your family's life and your children's life to going out in the country lanes on a bicycle. It's just not safe. It really isn't. So that really added to the demise of cycling and safety and I'm trying to use the word. Anyway, it helped people to drive more often and less of the cycling. There are bikes now, such as the Brompton, that you can take on a train and a bus and in your car. They fold up very small. Also a little bit expensive. But you'll see them a lot in London because you can take them on the elevator, up the escalators and everywhere with you. And basically, you don't need a padlock. You just keep it with you all the time. So, yeah, the demise of cycling is mostly down to safety and infrastructure in the UK. It's just not fair. All right, moving on. Aeroplanes. Now, much like the trains, aeroplanes also add a lot of hassle and stress for your holiday. Now, all right, you can drive to Spain, but most people choose to take the aeroplane. But it's still a lot of hassle. You have to check in like 2 hours before. So that's 2 hours before at the beginning of your holiday and 2 hours before at the end of your holiday. And then you want to allow for any delays, because if you don't get there on time, you've lost your flight, and that's going to be very expensive. So if you're stuck in behind a road traffic accident on the motorway or a small road on the way to the airport, that's your fault. You're going to lose out and you'll miss your flight. So there's a lot of added stress. And then there's the security. Then there's baggage allowance. And all this adds to a negative impact on your holiday. And that's why I think this has made holidays in the UK much more feasible and easy and relaxed and more regular, more common. What else are we getting on to? What have we got there? A rise of walking. Okay, so we've got the car and we've got walking. And they kind of go hand in hand here. So the rise of walking has kind of become gentrified, all right? Generally, especially I would say in Asia, walking is considered something very low down the pecking order for a commoner, a peasant, somebody that cannot afford transport. Now, you might think that about Asia and about lots of other countries, but actually, because of the countryside and the way the government has positioned the fact that we have a beautiful countryside and told us about so many places we can go and visit, it's really helped the rise of internal tourism. So you might go from one end of the country to the other, or one side of the country to the other. All right, you might not get a lot of culture, but you'll definitely see lots of things that you haven't seen before, lots of new attractions, maybe some stately homes, some beautiful gardens. And so that's where the car journey comes in to take you to your holiday destination. Maybe it's a cottage on the other side of the country where you can explore other beautiful houses, beautiful woods, beaches, mountains, caves, anything that our country has to offer for a very low entrance fee. And when I say entrance fee, I mean like you've got a car anyway, you just chuck in some fuel and you drive to the other side of the country. And so, like I said, it's been gentrified. The idea of walking has been gentrified. Like, you see the Queen, now you'd see the King going out for a stroll in the Scottish Highlands. You can see the King on YouTube, on the TV, going out for a stroll, enjoying. We have lots of big parks for going for a stroll with your children or going for a stroll with your significant other. Allowing the children to safely ride their bikes around a park where it's very, very safe. It's become more and more, I don't want to say gentrified, but more and more topical and enjoyed, the fresh air of a park or like I said, the other side of the country, enjoying the woodlands in another part of the country is really pushing their health and the balance of work and what's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me out. Peace. Work and balance of peace and enjoyment of recreation. All right, looking at all these beautiful flowers, maybe some fountains, maybe these like I said, these National Trust homes and big estates. That balance of your life. So the walking and the driving to different parts of the country helps journalism, helps tourism. Oh, I've got a bumblebee in here now. Helps tourism. It helps tax with your petrol. But it also helps you stay in your own country and not have to worry about the stress of aeroplanes and security and all these things, and what's happening in other countries, external politics. So that has become a really big thing now, gentrification of walking in nice country parks or in nice places on the other side of the country that you might not have seen before. Because there's a whole load of places to visit in the UK. And in every country, I guess. So that's another part of it. All right, moving on now. Then there's electrification. Maybe in the future, the electrification will have a massive amount of infrastructure. Now, that's a question. I can't see the future, and whether it's more and more petrol stations that now offer electric, or whether it's more and more hydrogen stations, or whether it's more and more individual private. That would be interesting, wouldn't it, if there were more and more private, say, households offering their electricity for people driving by. That's something to think about. But we don't know what the future is, but we're pretty sure that the car in the UK is going to take a big part of it. Like I say, people in the UK and Britain love their independence. They love the car. They love that ability to go off and have a walk around some countryside because they've seen the King do it. The King's been off all across the moors of Scotland. The King probably walks around his grounds. Walking is seen to be an elevated status of, oh, I'm so wealthy, or I've got so much time, I can take a long, leisurely stroll. So it's been elevated in status, going for a walk. And lots of people in Britain want that balance of being able to relax and not just talk about mindfulness and balance and being close to nature and helping your mental health. So that is really everything in a nutshell about walking and driving in the UK, how they have risen above everything else. Walking and driving kind of is the top tier of transport that we all aspire to, I guess, from 16, 17, 18 years old. All right, so in conclusion, and wrapping this up a little bit briefly, we are really shaped by our government's taxes and incentives. All right, the government tried to mold us the way their policies show us, whether it be through alcohol tax, cigarette tax, sugar tax, taxes on our fuel, taxes on public transport, things like that. Try to shape and mold us as much as possible, and we go along and comply until we don't. Maybe we're not as direct as the French with our government, but we do have a spine. Somewhere at the back we have a spine, and it's one of our last privileges of kind of middle class Britain, is that freedom of being able to jump in a car and go for a walk and explore our countryside. Like I say, it's one of the last frontiers out there. And like I said, it's also been elevated in status. Right, so that's it. That's all I got to say. If it's similar for you in your country in regards to exploring and freedom, if it's considered a good thing to get out and go for a walk and enjoy your country, then let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to find out. And as I said, don't forget there's also the app podbean.com, and I can be in your pocket. Over 114 episodes now. So there's got to be something out there that you might like. All right, that's it for now. Take care, and if you've got any questions, link it down below. See you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.